How would you feel about a trip? Like a break from the city? What they did to you is not right. To our family.
7 years of hell. They're gonna come, bro. They're gonna take them. You can't let that happen.
You can't let that happen.
For me, the stories that I want to tell, the stories that I'm drawn to, are usually stories about our community members who feel like they are invisible, whether it be as a result of police brutality, as it be those who are marginalized generationally, and in this case, those who are in the prison industrial complex and feel as though they're not seen, they're not heard, and that they are not justified in their humanity. And so when David and I, it was my closest friend in the world, we often have conversations around the things that are happening that are not necessarily getting the spotlight, corners of this world, specifically where we over index, where we need attention, we need people to kind of tune in and to talk about, to think about, strike up dialogue and move into action according to their calling. For me, I'm a filmmaker. I make tools for people like you all who are doing the work where we can take the things that we're talking about, the things that are whether erasing our humanity or destructive to our community, and put them on the big screen. And the beautiful thing about storytelling is just for that 2 hours, that hour and a half, 2 hours, you get to hold people hostage and give them the truth, feed them truths about what they ought to or what they ought not tolerate. And when I learned that on any given day, 80,000 men, women, and children are in solitary confinement, it was a statistic that it was hard for me to believe. But the more I dug into that, the more I peeled back the layers of that onion, the more I start to see at the heart of that were the Black women who wait for these men to come home, and how they deal with the trauma and how that really starts when they get out. A lot of these men, women, and children get out with no form of support, no whether it be no type of mental support, and they come out and they're responding to things that were done to them, not necessarily things that were done to themselves. And anyone that knows anything about solitary confinement, they know that these people are held in 10 by 8 cells for 23 hours a day. And often that 1 hour they get out, they're put into a different cell or a cage with a skylight before they're put back in. And we know of people who have been in solitary confinement, when you learn the stats about the people for up to 40 years. So you can imagine that existence. And through my interviews of talking to people that experienced it, one person in particular told me that being in solitary confinement was like being in the bottom of a grave and seeing people walk above you and talk above you. And no matter what you say, how much you scream out to them, they can't hear you. That is torture. That is medieval. And so in telling this story, what I wanted to do is shine a light on this for all of you who are here, who are curious about what this story means to us. I would just, have you really think about the idea that none of us are free if all of us aren't free. And the fact that even as I speak, so many of our men, women, and children are in solitary confinement or at home enduring the type of experience that Chris Newborn experienced. And when you hear from Richard Rosario, someone who was very important to us in telling this story, you'll get to hear firsthand just how dark these times can be as a result of what was done to him and so many like him. Around AMC and how we got to being able to distribute this film, I think it's indicative of not only where the industry is going, but where our mindsets are going with respect to ownership. I've been in this business for about 23 years now. David about the same. And as long as we've been friends, we met on Red Tails, I want to say about 15 years ago, we've been talking about this idea of ownership. What does it mean to take back the narrative when it comes to controlling how an idea goes from idea to the hearts and minds of the people we intend for it to go? And we haven't had that ability in a very long time. We can tell all the stories we want But if we don't have distribution, then it's like a tree falling in the woods. So we have been very, very focused on building something through Mansa that can take our stories, not just us, but our stories at scale through people like you, whether it be news, whether it be podcasts, anywhere where our stories are, we want to be in control of them and build the pipes so all that information can make it to the people that need that information. A story like this would never be, we would never find ourselves in a situation where I'm talking to you and being able to talk to people all over the country. But when we built our platform, Mansa, one of the things that we pursued immediately was a partnership with AMC. We reached out to them. There's a fantastic woman in leadership, Black woman named Nicole Dimson, and she said, not only will we do a deal, but we want to help you. If we can find something to work on together, then we can lock arms and take something to the masses through theatrical. And so that's kind of how this started. We were looking for a film, and by the grace of God, this film that David and I worked on that we didn't have control over initially found its way through prayer and work into our hands. And so we were able to really control not just how the film was cut, but how we would bring it to the audience. We screened our film at a film festival for a number of buyers. And one of the conditions of us partnering with any group was that there would be an impact campaign, that this film would not just be seen as a piece of content for entertainment, but we could actually have conversations like this, that really get down to the heart of what the film is about. And that is community, that is family, it's fathers, sons, it's husbands and wives, all the things that have been broken, fractured, and taken from us in this country over the past 400 years. So a film like this, we have to just make sure we're not being kind of faction into someone else's dialogue for their agendas, but really get clear about what we're saying, why we're saying it, and who we're saying it to. So AMC responded to that call, and we have to give them all the love and all the credit because like I said, when we screened our film, no one wanted to do an impact campaign, so we decided to distribute it ourselves. We decided to go directly to the audience that we knew that would respond to this and respond to conversations like this and help us continue the conversation. So it's been an arduous road, excuse me, but it's been a necessary one. And the hope is that by us, David, myself, our platform, reaching out directly to AMC, partnering with Joteka and Win with Black Women, who have been partnered with us for the last 5 years, David and I, we knew that we could take control of the narrative and take a film like this, not just to a place of revenue, but to a place of healing.
Thank you for having me. I'm a fan of Nate, not just because he's a great actor, a good writer, but the stories he has put out there are so impactful to the human soul because it's a story of the plight of our people. And these stories that we're telling today are nothing new. I mean, we could go back to hundreds of years of oppression from the vagrant laws that gave life to the system based off of racism, off of hate of a people. And what I want people to understand is that this country is losing its humanity. And the only thing that could keep us together is loving our neighbors, right? We love our families, we love our children. You see Chris Newborn in this movie, you're seeing a piece of lives of people that have been allowed to be tortured in America with no reprisals, with no help, with no one to hear their cries, right? And so the performance that David did was impactful to me because I've known so many people that have not been able to remain at liberty because of the trauma they suffered because of solitary confinement. So what I want people to take out of this is that to not ignore it. Like, don't just watch this movie and think it's entertainment. Chris Newborn is out there. There is a Chris Newborn suffering today. There are over 80,000 people waking up to this torturous perpetual life that there is no escape from. And if we ignore it because we don't see it, because we don't hear them cries, we're just gonna be as guilty as the people that are torturing them, and in there we ignore it. And we shouldn't lose that humanity. I just want people to get back to loving their neighbors and understanding that this country has a horrible history of torture, of doing wicked things under the name of justice that we just can't allow as human beings. And it impacts everybody in societies, mothers, children, and the people that are silenced for so long. That, you know, I'm grateful this movie is out, and I want people to understand this is not just entertainment. David poured his heart into this character. He took pieces of my life, of the lives and the stories of so many who suffered this horror, and put it into a performance that's not just a character to me. It's someone that I know, someone that I understand is going through this today. And that's what I want people to take out of it.
I guess you've been wondering where I've been these past years. Why I wasn't here with you and your mom. I made a decision. A decision I might have considered differently had I known you were on the way. I guess I can't change the past, but what I can do is promise you I will never leave you again. I will never let anything happen to you. I love you, son. And your mother. More than anything. And I'm gonna keep doing the best I can to prove it.
Drew me to the role is the fact that I wasn't aware. Conviction that he had to endure for 20 years, 7 of which were in solitary confinement. And I have to say, I just couldn't imagine anything worse. As Nate said, this feeling of being buried alive and life is carrying on around you. But on top of that, your wife and kids are existing without you while you are enduring what can only be described as torture. But what consistently spoke to me was when Richard talked about the love of his wife, and that was the light at the end of the tunnel for him. That was the thing that kept him on the right side of sanity, so to speak. And he'll freely admit himself he came very, very close to not being sane in the midst of all of this. But you know, I'm a big believer in the power of love, as glib as that may sound. But that was ultimately the thing that helped him through. And that's why we chose to focus not on the incarceration portion, but on the journey this man was taking back to his wife, back to his son. And that, to me, is what makes the story relatable. I think we can all relate to feelings of isolation. We can all relate to the need for connection and when we felt a lack of connection. And, you know, especially in the form of the father-son story in this, Jake, my son in the movie, the character has become nonverbal because of the trauma of what his family are dealing with. So it's not just the individual who's incarcerated. There is a form of incarceration happening for the family themselves, which means that if you have 80,000 people in solitary confinement today, just think about the concentric circles of that and how far and wide the effect of this is, especially as some of these people are innocent. And so the reason I leaned into it is that just felt like the definition of injustice, especially as this is not a punitive circumstance that is being given out by a judge or a jury. It is prison wardens, sometimes people who are just mean-spirited or have a vendetta, and they can just throw someone in solitary confinement and essentially throw away the key. That just feels wrong, and I think the level of awareness around it is relatively small considering how heinous a circumstance it is.